Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and as you can see we have a bit of a change of scenery from the last couple of videos, and I have a lot of vintage to share with you. I'm so excited about this video. In my last video I asked you guys if you wanted to see just plain try-ons or outfit try-ons, so I've tried to put each of these pieces in an actual outfit that I would actually wear. Before we get started, I just wanted to say thank you so much to those of you who are subscribed, and if you are not, then please consider subscribing, and please give this video a thumbs up if you want to see more fashion content. To start the video, I'm going to give you guys some tips, and I have a little disclaimer for you. All of these pieces I bought on either eBay or Poshmark or one of those sites. Nothing I got from one of those Instagram vintage retailers, nothing I got from a retail store that sells vintage, the real, none of that stuff. This is all pure vintage that I dug for, and I'm going to give you tips on how to find the specific pieces that I found. A few tips for shopping vintage like this. Make sure you cannot find it for cheaper somewhere else, especially if it is over $50. Make sure you do your research, and as you start to do more vintage shopping, you'll know kind of like price ranges of certain things. Wash everything. Be prepared to dry clean. I mean, just wash everything that you can and dry clean the nicer things. Alright, you're going to also want to be prepared to tailor things. Sizing is weird. You might even want to consider going up a size to buy vintage, because a lot of times their sizes are smaller as well. So just be prepared to tailor something and have a vision. If you find something that you really love, but it's not quite how you would wear it, chances are you probably will be able to tailor it into a really cute dress. Kind of the negative side of vintage, but be prepared to be disappointed. Like, not every single piece you buy is going to be amazing. You're going to buy something and it's going to look awesome online, and then you're going to get it and it's going to be too small, or it's just not going to look as good on you as it did either on the person or the mannequin. You can also have the opposite, where you have something, you're like, well, I'm not sure, and then you're like, okay, I'm just gonna buy it and see, and it ends up being amazing. The shipping fees, oh my goodness. I bought a tank top the other day that was this really cool vintage, like year 2K, and I bought it from England for like $10, but I didn't realize that the shipping was $35. So moments like that can be a bit annoying. On eBay, you can make offers. You can get a significant chunk of money off of the buy now price. So don't be afraid to make an offer, even if it might feel crazy. The worst thing that happens is they'll reject your offer. On eBay, you can put in a larger bid than is the current bid, and eBay will automatic bid for you up to that bid. So if you really love something, you can do that, but I recommend not doing that until close to the end of bidding time, and set an alarm on your phone because you will forget. The last tip I have for you guys before we get started is to set limits. It's so easy to go on eBay and just go through and bid this on an item or bid that on an item. So I wanted to start with tops, since that is one of my favorite things to shop for on vintage sites. So this is a vintage Victoria's Secret corset. Lingerie is kind of hard to shop online because sometimes sizing can be a little bit off, so be lenient with your sizing. A lot of times if there's lace in the back like this, you can kind of go down a size or go up a size and it'll probably work. This is probably the biggest hit or miss item for me. Sometimes you'll find something that's really amazing, that really just flatters your body and looks good, and other times you're just going to fail. I literally just searched Victoria's Secret corset or bustier with rhinestones, because there's little rhinestone sparklies on this, and I'm not sure if you can see it in the video, but they probably will sparkle a little bit. And then I also have this one, which I was searching a Victoria's Secret lace bustier when I found this, and this is honestly a really beautiful one. I don't think I've seen a lot of stuff from Victoria's Secret that looks like this, that is like the vintage stuff. I also recommend putting in your size when you search for it, because that'll be easier to kind of go through things, and then go a size up and a size down. Next up, I have silk shirts. These are a gold mine, but you really have to dig through. A lot of times I'll search for specific things like a floral silk shirt, and I'll just kind of go through. Sometimes I'll search sheer floral silk shirt, and then I do love a ruffle sometimes. Ruffles are very hard, and these ruffle silk shirts are very specific because they can turn piratey very fast. And I'm honestly still on the fence about this black one. I haven't worn it yet, got it recently. I feel like it looks a little bit piratey, but I feel like depending on how you style it, it can just kind of look very chic and not super piratey. This is a sheer silk ruffle shirt. I love this one so much. It is very sheer, I have to admit, but if you tack the ruffles on the front down and you have a smaller bust, I think you can make it work. I just think it is such a beautiful shirt. It lays down so well, and on the tag it says worth. I am going to try to look up some of these items and put them down in the description for you guys if you want to shop them. In fact, I probably will not find any of the exact pieces, but there might be a few things in here that I might be able to find. This is the only sweater that I have in here. This, you literally search for LL Bean or Eddie Bauer Henley sweater, and make sure that you keep an eye on the size. This one I want to say is either large or an extra large. I will put something in the description so that you guys can double check that. This is a more recent vintage obsession for me, and they are tissue tees. I recently discovered this on eBay. Can't believe that I never thought of this before, but if you search for tissue t-shirts or paper thin t-shirts, you can find some really, really amazing, comfortable, worn-in t-shirts. Some of them are going to be like a couple $100s, and you want to stay away from those ones. This one I think was like $25, $18, something along those lines, and I think it's really cool, comfortable, has some holes in it, but I feel like that kind of adds to it. And since I'm from Massachusetts, I found a tissue tee with Boston Red Sox on it, and I think this is just the coolest thing. It's so comfortable. Before I move on to some of the other categories, I wanted to cover designer pieces. I recently started searching Tom Ford for Gucci, and I have been finding some really amazing things. A little bit harder to find the cheaper ones, but this top was on the less expensive side. I think it's a super easy going out tank, and I just loved the chain detail. I thought it was something unique that I wasn't really going to find anywhere else. I also found this Yves Saint Laurent button-up shirt, and this is actually a men's shirt, so don't forget to check in the men's section. It is missing a few buttons. I got this super, super cheap, so I'm going to have to either take buttons from the bottom or replace all of the buttons with something else. I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet. I don't even have words for this because I'm so obsessed with this jacket. It is Christian Dior, and this is probably the most expensive thing that I have bought from eBay. It is so stunningly beautiful though. All the details, the construction of it, the way that it fits and cinches in the waist. It has this really cool kind of double layer feature on the front of it. When shopping for designer vintage, I feel like you have to be very careful for buying things that are overpriced, which is why a lot of times I don't really shop for a lot of designer vintage on eBay. I just happened across this. It was about $500, which is not expensive in the scheme of a vintage Dior jacket. It's only from 2015, so it's not really vintage. I'm so happy with it. It was definitely a splurge, but if I had not splurged on this piece, I just would be devastated because it's so unique and so stunning. Alright, moving on to another favorite thing to shop of mine, jackets. So I tend to find that a lot of leather jackets that you can find on eBay are beautiful vintage jackets that are such better quality and for so cheap. This one was $45. It's beautiful suede, beautifully cut and made, and the pockets, and it's just absolutely streamlined and beautiful and gorgeous. Leather jackets, I love to buy vintage. I think it's a more sustainable way to shop them. I'm not the most sustainable person, but I just think adding little bits here and there and building up to being more sustainable is a great way to start. This one, I think I was looking for a leather blazer, and this one I was looking for a leather trench coat. Sometimes people label things weird, so you kind of have to be loose with your labeling, or think about how would I label this, or how would my dad label this. It was kind of the same price. It might have been even a little bit cheaper than the other one. There is a broken button, so I'm going to have to change out the buttons on this at some point. I actually wouldn't have thought to buy it myself. I saw this on a vintage site and I was like, that's actually a really good idea. I should search for those. And it's just silk bomber jackets, like vintage silk bomber jackets, and you can find so many of them, some in really cool prints, but you really have to dig through because a lot of them are in very kind of 80s type prints, and they all have big giant shoulder pads, so you will need to keep in mind that you're going to need to cut those out. This one has very small shoulder pads, but I don't mind them, so I might not take it out on this one. Just kind of another example of something that you can find. A lot more of the prints are like this one versus the floral one, but if you search floral silk bomber jacket, you might be able to find some nicer florally things versus some of the crazy patterns. So this piece is a jumpsuit, and this is actually a purchase that was inspired by my friend Hannah. I just will pair this back to like some Converse or some slides or something like that and just wear it as like a cool kind of like I don't care but I am putting in effort sort of look. I could just talk about this all day because I love it so much. It might not be like the most sexy thing, but I feel like it's super sexy in its own sort of way. Moving on, I also wanted to talk about dresses. So some of these things might not necessarily be vintage. Some of it is resale. I don't actually know how old this is. This might be like proper vintage, but this could also be like from last season. I don't know. It's from BCBG. On the hanger, it looks kind of like nothing, just kind of a sparkly gold thing. But how it lays on my body is, I was not expecting to love this. I was like, oh yeah, it's kind of cool. Maybe like I'll wear it to an event or something. And I just feel like a goddess when I wear this. So don't write off something because the brand says BB or the brand says BCBG. Just trust your gut if you want to buy something. I don't know if this is a lingerie dress or more of a nightgown, but I found this searching for Victoria's Secret nightgowns because some of their vintage nightgowns are really, really beautiful as dresses. And the next piece is from VS, but this is not VS. It just happens to be in the same world. It looked not great at all on eBay. It looked ugly as hell, but I think it's really cool. It's kind of like got that retro vibe. I'm not 100% sure if I can actually wear this as a dress out because of the way that the sheerness is in it. This one is a vintage Victoria's Secret dress. I think a basic slip dress like this is still so stunning, and I think this is just super special. Honestly, I was shocked that it was Victoria's Secret because I did not think that they made things like this. It just feels too kind of like Victorian-y, retro kind of vibe. This I think is really cool to kind of dress up a little bit with the corset top, like I styled it. A lot of times I've just worn this with a tank top under it and it's just been kind of like my casual, but I'm trying a little bit sort of outfit. Suit sets are surprisingly amazing. You almost always are going to have to get them tailored. This one, I think all I have to do is get the elastic changed in the waistband. I have another set that I found while I was searching for suit sets, and this is totally not a suit whatsoever, but it was a three-piece set. There's also a long sleeve shirt that came with it that it's not pictured, but it just has like this gold lame through it, and I loved the floral pattern. It's really cool. I just need to change out the elastic band again, and then I'm going to crop the top as well because I think as a set that'll make it a lot easier to wear. This one was another piece that I was really on the fence about, and I'm on the fence now about how I would like to tailor it. There's two ways I think it looks really beautiful. One way is off the shoulders, but the zip goes all the way up in the back, so I would need to do something about how the zipper is in the back, maybe even replacing the whole zipper. The other way I was thinking of altering it is just wearing it the way that it's supposed to be worn, but bringing up the top a little bit because the chest is a little saggy, and then I would then probably lower the neckline a little just so that it opens it up. But again, on the fence, not sure which one that I'm going to do. If you guys have a suggestion, please leave it in the comments below. This it needs a lot of work. This was actually something I saw on one of those vintage resale sites, and then I found it on eBay myself. And it is this beautiful La Perla dress. When you put it on without any tailoring to it, it's not super great. but I'm going to show you like how I want to tailor it. I want to take the waist in, I want to change the hemline a little bit so it's more of like a tulip, I think it's called. I really wanted to show you guys the before and almost after of how I visualize these pieces being, because I think it could help if you find something, just visualizing how it will look when it's tailored, or certain things that you might be able to do to something else in order to tailor it to your body. So I'm really excited to bring this into a tailor, and I'll obviously be posting that on Instagram once I get it done, so don't forget to follow me there at Jessica Clements or at Voyage Clementine, which is my more like aesthetically pleasing Instagram that I recently started. And thank you guys who have followed it. I appreciate it. This is really just more of a hem thing, and I'm trying to decide how I want this hem to go. You could just chop it, and that would be super easy, but I really love the amount of flowers that are at the bottom of the dress. So I want to actually take the bottom of the dress and bring it up to the top and make the waist tight. Will I be able to do that? I honestly have no clue, but even if I just have to chop it, I think it's going to be a really beautiful dress. I hope that these tips were helpful for you guys, and I hope that it was helpful seeing how I envision some of these pieces being tailored. Maybe that will inspire you guys to buy something that you wouldn't necessarily, so that you can turn it into something extraordinary. Thank you again so much to those of you who are subscribed, and if you're not, don't forget to subscribe on your way out. And thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Mwah.